From West Cork's rugged Atlantic coastline to its quiet sandy bays, from its majestic wind-blasted mountains to its mist-clad rolling hills, Wild West Cork brings you informed commentary from some of Ireland's amazing experts, talking on subjects from gannets to great whales and from coastal rowing to castles. In this, the first of the new series of Wild West Cork, we look at issues closely tied to the winter season, with special emphasis on the weather and the sea conditions. We will investigate the impact this has on the lives of the people who work and live on the islands, and the struggle for survival for West Cork's wildlife as harsh conditions take a grip on the region. Nothing epitomises the autumn and winter months more than the increase in reports of orphaned and injured seal pups. In West Cork, the Atlantic grey seals start having their pups as early as late August or early September. Following prolonged periods of stormy weather through the autumn and early winter months, young seals will frequently be injured, dehydrated, separated from their mothers, orphaned, or simply become so exhausted that their life hangs in the balance. Seal Rescue Ireland, based in Cortown, County Wexford, provide a countrywide rescue service where young seals, too young or injured to fend for themselves, are rescued from Ireland's remote beaches, rehabilitated at the Seal Rescue Ireland Centre, and released back into the wild following recovery. Melanie Croce, the operations manager of Seal Rescue Ireland, explained how the severe winter storms during the closing months of 2017 and early 2018 doubled the number of animals passing through the centre, and how the public can support their vital work.
We'll get a phone call to a rescue hotline, which is manned 24 hours a day. If anyone sees a seal that they suspect might be in distress, they can call our hotline. And then we've got experienced animal care staff that will ask for photos and ask for a description, location, general behavior. The most important thing is for the public, if you do see a seal on a beach, to stay at least 200 meters away. Many times the seals are fine, they don't need rescuing, they're just resting. They're mammals, they breathe oxygen, so it's not uncommon for them to be found on land. But if it is a seal that is showing signs of malnourishment, dehydration, sickness, injury, maybe entanglement, we will assess that information based on the images, and then we will activate our network of stranding volunteers. So volunteers are trained on how to safely lift and transport seals, and we will call upon sort of a train of rescue transport to get the seal to us in Corktown. Once it's here, we'll assess its injuries, we'll get it hydrated, we'll give it any sort of medication it needs, whether it's antiparasitics or antibiotics, and then we will start feeding it, and the ultimate goal is to just get them fit and healthy enough for release. Once they reach the weight that they are determined healthy and fit enough, then they'll become released. And that process can take anywhere from 2 to 10 months, but generally it's around 3 to 4 months for the entire rehab process. So currently, as of last season, we were at around 74% success rate, which is actually very high considering worldwide rehab centers generally have about a 50% rate. So despite very limited resources and running on volunteers, we're very proud of that 74%. Also, our numbers are increasing. So at the moment, we are admitting G134, which means the 134th seal this season. Last year, we only had 112 total. So every year, we're increasing the number of seals that we're taking in, but we're still expecting to hit about the same success rate as last year, which we're very proud of. So ways that the public can help is to get involved. We've got lots and lots of programs available. You can come visit us at the center. There's adoptions. You can become a member for continuous support. You can volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers to help us with the stranding network, to rescue the seals and transport them to us. But we actually need volunteers across all skill sets: accountants, plumbers, electricians, any sort of skill set we do need here. We rely on interns that come from all over the world and spend between 3 and 6 months with us working full time, and they help us with the animal care aspect. So we're always looking for new animal care volunteers, but also education. We've got very active education programs, fundraiser programs, but one of the biggest ways is to donate. So we only get about 10% of our funding from the government. All the rest is up to us to fundraise and to rely on donations. So there's plenty of ways to help and get involved.
With the challenges that face the marine environment today, the important work this group afford one group of marine mammals can be seen on their website, where you can follow some of their charges from West Cork and elsewhere in Ireland, from rescue right through to release. We think of poor weather and sea conditions as primarily impacting wildlife, but for some of the inhabitants of West Cork's remote islands, rough sea conditions have a very special impact. The daily ferry service is the only physical contact with the mainland and an important part of the supply chain for fresh produce coming onto the island. Dangerously rough seas mean cancelled services, sometimes for many days at a time. Nowhere is this more evident than on the beautiful gale-topped island of Cape Clear, situated 45 minutes by ferry off the West Cork coastline and right in the path of Atlantic storms. The strong gale-force winds of the past few months have meant the service from Baltimore has been cancelled on occasion, stranding inhabitants on the island.
No, it's a great challenge when the water was bad, because you have to plan things much better than what you would, let's say, in the summer. Just get up in the morning and you go to work and you run your schedule, no problems. In the winter time, you might have to cancel sailings due to weather and other conditions, but it's the winter time mainly.
Local historian Seamus O'Driscoll talked to us about the history of the ferry service to Cape Clear and just what a lifeline it is for the 120 hardy souls that call this outstandingly beautiful island home.
The ferry service at the moment, it's owned by a company, and there are a number of shareholders. 2/3 of the shareholders are based here on Cape Clear, and then there's another third of the shareholding which is based in Baltimore. And it's a mixture of a group of individuals here on the island, and obviously there's a strong family connection as well. And we all work very well together. It's a cooperative effort. Even though it's not a co-op, it is very much a cooperative effort, and we all try to do our part to make it as successful as possible.
Well, Nick, the shop, along with every other area on the island, be it commercial or be it private, relies 100% on the ferry. It is our lifeline. It is our M1 motorway, so to speak. When it's travelling 2, 3, 4 trips a day, we get all our fresh produce delivered daily, and our suppliers, to give them credit, organise their schedule to work around the ferry schedule. When the ferry doesn't run, and there could be anything up to 8, 10, 12 days over an entire winter where we mightn't have any sailings. If it's just a sporadic day where we don't have a trip, that's manageable. It's when you might have 2 or 3 days consecutively that we don't have a sailing. That's where it gets very difficult.
We're very glad of the recent improvements in the harbour, because we now have a storm gate on Cape Clear, and that means that the ferry is afloat 24/7, and that has helped us to improve the service to the island in recent years. And the other thing is that the islanders have a great confidence in the ferry crew. All of the skippers over the years have been very, very competent. They know the area like nobody else, and I think it's to the professionalism and competence of the crew and skippers that we have such an excellent service, and thanks to them.
Although winter storms may disrupt contact with the mainland for several days a year, there are few who would give up the way of island life for a little rough sea. Notwithstanding stormy weather and rough seas, the Christmas season in West Cork can mean a time of joy and festivity for most of its inhabitants. For some of man's canine friends, however, it can mean a time of abandonment and hardship. Many dogs and puppies are acquired during the euphoria of giving over the Christmas season. Once the reality of how much attention, feeding and exercising that dogs require sinks in, some end up being abandoned. Many new pets find themselves in rescue centres that specialise in rehoming these unfortunate canines. West Cork Animal Welfare Group takes in abandoned dogs for rehoming from all over County Cork. They've seen record numbers of dogs abandoned or submitted for rehoming during the 2017 Christmas season.
A lot of surrenders from people that find it very difficult to find accommodation. People's circumstances change, they have children, they can't cope with dogs and children. Allergies seems to be a big thing, lack of time. People just don't realise the commitment of taking on a dog.
You have to have the time as well. You need time to look after a dog. They have to let them out. They need to go to the toilet every so often. You have to train them really well, so that if you have to leave for a few hours and they know that okay, she'll be back in a few hours, I can go out then, and then to take them for walks. A lot of people find destructive behaviour, but that's because they're not exercised and they're not. They need to be out doing stuff, and then even if they went to work, they had a job they had to do, and then had their walk on top of that. A lot of dogs, that's what they want, is attention, just even for a few hours a day, just to burn that excess energy off is a big thing for dogs.
Some of our canine friends are simply abandoned or unwanted and submitted for rehoming. Others suffer through neglect, and Pilgrim was one such dog. Suffering badly from mange and malnutrition, she is currently undergoing intensive treatment, but is expected to make a full recovery.
She was found wandering around the halfway area, and a few people had calls, and then a friend of ours went out and actually picked her up. I think she was sort of cornered in a shed at this stage. Some farmer had taken her in kindly. So she went to get her, put a lead round her, and she was really quite happy just to hop into the car, absolutely exhausted. And she was brought here. Well, she's been here for 2 weeks so far, and she was totally emaciated and suffering from mange, which, as you can see, she still is, but getting a bit better, the fur's growing back. It's just a matter of time.
Many abandoned dogs find a home relatively quickly, others take a little longer. But for those looking for a loyal family pet, giving a rescue dog a loving and secure home is rewarded in full. Join us next time on Wild West Cork, where we will be looking at the unique interaction between the people, wildlife and environment of West Cork.